December 12, 1975, 44 men and women joined for an historic meeting in Washington, D.C. They represented print, radio, and television journalists of color working for news platforms nationwide. During that meeting, nearly 49 years ago, an organization of journalists, students, and media-related professionals was created. This mission was to provide quality programs and services for Black journalists worldwide, and most importantly, to serve as an advocate for Black journalists. Please stand as we recognize our NABJ founders who are here with us tonight. Norma Adams Wade, Sandra Dillard, Allison Davis, Joel Dreyfus, Joe Davidson, Francis Ward, Dwayne Wickham, Sam Ford, Sandra Dawson Long Weaver. She is the immediate past president of the National Association of Black Journalists. The Chicago native is a veteran reporter with CBS 2, Chicago's 2 investigator team, and has been honored with numerous awards, including Robert G. Magruder Award for Diversity Leadership, 2 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards, and has part of the news team that won a national Murrow for overall excellence. Please welcome former President Dorothy Tucker.
They waiting for somebody. Who we waiting on? Oh, Claudia Powell. What was that?
Please welcome Claudia Pauley, founder.
How are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, your NABJ founders. Please welcome Convention Co-Chair Dorothy Tucker.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, NABJ, and welcome to my Chicago. Oh, I'm so happy to see all of you. And speaking of co-chairs, it's only me. We have to acknowledge our former co-chairs. As you have heard or read, Karen Attia stepped down as convention co-chair. This morning, we learned that Art Norman wasn't feeling well, so he's at home. We expect him to join us later in the week. I'm not going to take it personal. Let nobody else show up, but it's okay. Our theme this year, Winds of Change. Wait a minute, I'm missing the line. Hold on a second. NABJ tonight kicks off 5 days of learning, growing, reconnecting, and of course, fun and fellowship. Our theme this year, Winds of Change, Journalism over Disinformation. A fitting topic since we are in what is known as the Windy City. We have hundreds of sessions scheduled to help you fine-tune your skills, prepare for the next interruption, and elevate to the C-suite. Whether you are a college journalist, affectionately known as our NABJ babies, preparing for graduation, a young journalist just starting your first job, or a veteran preparing for what's next, this is a session for you. There is some session for you here in Chicago this week. But when you need a break, know there is a lot to explore. From more than 60 museums, showcasing world-class art, thousands of top-notch restaurants, breweries, we want you to learn and have fun while you are here with us. Now, back to our theme this year, Winds of Change, Journalism over Disinformation. We want you to walk away from this conference with valuable tools as we enter the crucial weeks leading to the November elections. As journalists, we will spend the next 3 months sifting through the noise of clutter masquerading as news to deliver quality journalism to our readers, viewers, and listeners. While the media in which we operate has evolved and drastically changed, our mission remains the same: to serve the public. Tonight, we want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the company of your fellow journalists. Then stick around for our welcome reception following this ceremony. Good evening, NABJ.
He was honored with an Edward R. Murrow Award. He's a founding member of the re-established Charlotte Area Association of Black Journalists and the immediate past NABJ Vice President of Broadcast. Please welcome WSOC TV reporter and your NABJ President, Ken Lemon.
Thank you, thank you. I want to first say before I get to my written script, as journalists, we are called, we are here to call truth to power. This is what we do, and this is an important mission, and I'm so glad we are doing that here. Let me say this. When I started this post, someone asked me a question, and I gave 2 answers, right? Phrases that carried me throughout the year. The first statement was, I love NABJ. And since that day, I am thrilled to say that the member I love the most has gone from my fiance to my wife. Dr. Courtney Austin Lemon, I love you. She is joined here by one of my other favorite NABJ members, my son Matt and his fiancée Caroline, for their first NABJ. Thrilled to have them. Look, the second thing that I said was, let's do great things together. And this year we have done just that. I want you to see what I saw when I visited your chapters. I want you to hear how people responded to you.
We need writers. Support the writers. Thank you.
That our people had a voice and that we stood up for justice.
You know, not only do we honor our living legends, but we work to produce future legends.
Give me that! Give me that! Give me that! Give me that!
No one can tell our story better than we can. I often say that a story's been written about you every day.
I wasn't gonna let hate, racism, or bigotry control my brother's story.
Y'all better make some noise up here.
One of the proudest moments of my entire life.
Shout out to the Association of Black Journalists. We need y'all to give clear and concise and precise images and works that promote our community in a positive light. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are the amazing things that I was able to see with my own eyes. You heard the MC in Detroit say, somebody better make some noise. Well, somebody in NABJ here in Chicago needs to make some noise. You should cheer because whether you saw your face on that screen or not, you are investing in future journalists in Miami, in DC, in Cleveland, in San Diego. You should cheer because that's you launching game-changing projects in Atlanta, in Houston, in New Orleans, and Denver. You should cheer because that's you in Southern New England, in Milwaukee, in Dallas, in Cincinnati, in Memphis, in Orlando, in Raleigh. I saw you in Norfolk. I saw you in Minneapolis. I saw you in Jackson. I heard about you in Boston. I heard about you in Seattle and Phoenix. And I am proud because leaving Birmingham, the last thought I had is how can we improve on this? You helped to answer that question with some of the best national and local responses to advocacy concerns that I've ever been a part of. In St. Louis, in Denver, in Kansas City, in Austin, in Arkansas, these are engagements that do not always result in press releases, but they are a setup for impactful change. You helped when motivated local journalists brought a return to a local chapter representation in the fourth largest media market in the country, Philadelphia, and our newest professional chapter, one of the largest cities on the West Coast, in Sacramento. And I said to one of them in one city, I said, if you bring the success, I will bring the support. And we did that. And here's something else that we did, and this is something that is dear to me. You're going to hear a little bit more about this later, but NABJ and ABC News have entered a partnership. It will be a more generous investment, an investment more generous than I can say at this moment now into NABJ's Leadership Academy over the next 4 years, and more details are coming out on that later. We are committed. You can clap. You can clap. Because we need to say this. We are committed to preparing our members to do more than fill newsroom jobs. We need black people in decision-making positions. We need black publishers. We need black general managers. We need black senior vice presidents and corporate presidents. And let me add, those are black jobs. My personal goal is to eventually develop a pathway from the C-suite, beginning in the classroom, so that as we talk to those pursuing scholarship, we can help them understand leadership and ownership. That's what intentional growth looks like. We have expanded grants from journalists facing ever more shrinking newsrooms. We launched a scholarship to help students get to this convention. We did more than just cover registrations for journalists facing hardships. We paid for airfare, hotels, and meals. One of those journalists called me 2 weeks ago to say, thank you. I received one of those grants. And because of this, I have an opportunity to be present, to be engaged, and find a job. And I'm more grateful than you ever will know. This year, we offered our members one of the most inclusive batches of learning experiences, beginning with this large investment, a six-figure investment into free training in AI, misinformation, and disinformation ahead of one of the most critical political elections in the nation's history. Because of that hard work of our members, we have launched its first political and media-related media institutes. Those involved, please stand. Thank you. Thank you. We have had an investigative media institute, please stand, an emerging journalist media institute, an arts and entertainment media institute, and Region 3 took us to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, please stand. Look, these are services that are essential because we are closer than ever to reaching the goal of 5,000 members. We launched a plan to celebrate NABJ's 50th anniversary, our founders here with us today, beginning with a full year of celebrations, a documentary film, an immersive program to show why 44 founders stood up and showed out and why we can't stop. We continue to plan for growth by commissioning a new strategic plan to keep the organization strong for years to come. We have done some outstanding things together, but there's so much more to do for ourselves and for those who rely on the work to inform the world and for those who will do it next. We should do this together, expanding, growing, until we are like the line from one of my favorite Drake songs. And that line goes, what's the move? Can I tell the truth? If I was doing this for you, then I'd have nothing left to prove. This is for me, though. I'm just trying to stay alive and take care of my people. And they don't have no award for that. This is where we are. This is where we should be. And at the risk of repeating myself, I love NABJ. And today I stand ready with you to do more great things together. Thank you.
Please welcome NABJ's Executive Director, Drew Barry.
You know, y'all look pretty good out there. You look pretty good out there. Oh, well, thank you. Well, here you go again. Again. Last year, last year, you made Birmingham the third largest NABJ convention in history. This year, although we don't have quite final numbers, it could be higher, you have already made Chicago the largest convention in NABJ history. At more than 4,000, in fact, 4,181 and growing. We have eclipsed their record of Miami in 2019 that had 4,105, as you can see. You've already given yourself a round of applause, and that's good. And as a side note, you may remember that this was supposed to be a joint convention with NAHJ. NAHJ unexpectedly pulled out and took their convention to California, and that's fine. At that event a few weeks ago, they had about 1,800 attendees. So our conference is more than double theirs in terms of attendance. Still, all of us, both organizations, are doing what we need to do in terms of advocating and training our members in a big way. Now, I do want to acknowledge and congratulate NAHJ's new executive director, Jeanette Guillen-Diaz. We have worked with her in another capacity within NAHJ for years, okay? And I think she's been with NAHJ for about 20 years, so quite frankly, she knows that organization better than most. I don't know if she's here right now. I know she will be here at some point. There she is back there. Oh, give her a round of applause back there. All right. All right, now back to NABJ. We are excited about your engagement this year, which includes more than 70 companies and organizations who are doing business with us just at the convention. Many are represented in our career fair. You've already scheduled more than 1,200 appointments with recruiters in the job fair. And speaking of career fair, now I know we are used to the big elaborate booth ceiling displays. This year it'll be a little different. We had to ask the companies, to dramatically scale back their huge, impressive displays. Why would you do that, Drew? Because ceiling height in this hotel's career space created some major restrictions. The ceilings are too low. But the companies are still there. You just have to look a little hard to find them. And please note that there are 2 career fair halls that connect to each other. through two sets of entrances. That's two connected halls connected through two sets of entrances. Now, one of your best friends this year at the convention will again be the convention app, okay? If you have not already, go ahead and download Event Pilot. Your life will be much better. You can build your schedule, navigate to your destinations, and get alerts to real-time changes to the schedule and other important updates, safety things too, and other announcements that you may need to know. A couple of thousand of you have already signed up, okay? What you'll see this year in terms of convention content is a continued evolution of relevant training to help you do your job in 2024 and beyond, from how not to fall victim to misinformation, disinformation, and the sinister use of artificial intelligence, a heavy emphasis on investigative journalism, a focus on health and wellness, including mental health, among other things. More on that in just a moment. Now, NABJ continues to evolve to help our members meet their needs. In all, we have 140, more than 140, plus conference sessions, a combination of 10 breakfasts and luncheons. Most are free, okay? Get there early, first come, first serve. We have about 25 networking receptions, all great environments to connect with friends, make new friends, talk with employers and potential employers. And don't forget to check out the other cutting-edge technology in our innovation bubble that has become a major attraction over the years. Something else that has been growing over the years is the NABJ Leadership Academy that President Lemon mentioned earlier. We have an infusion of funding from Disney that is going to help take it to the next level. And speaking of leadership, Kim Godwin, are you in the house? Are you anywhere? Where is she? There she is back there, y'all, okay? Kim Godwin. We all know that Kim rose to the highest ranks in news management at ABC News, okay? She's always been a champion of journalists striving and thriving in higher management. I hired her as a talented producer when I was news director in Philadelphia some years ago, and I just want to publicly thank her for not forgetting about NABJ and always being supportive in so many ways. Thank you again, Kim. Now, back briefly to health and wellness for just a moment. There's something you might want to check out that should help you deal with the stress of job and life in general. If you see people lying around like this, no, they're not having a nervous breakdown. Instead, they are relaxing. As many of you know, it's called meditation sound bath, okay? Unfortunately, I think 2 sessions are already full, so we'll have to look to expand this opportunity in the future. This is important stuff, y'all, okay? And also backed by popular demand, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to look good while doing great journalism. So check out the hair and makeup booths in the career fair, okay? Our extremely successful NABJ business model harnesses the power of our influence to service both our members and partners. Our advocacy, which is a mix of very public and quiet diplomacy efforts, are further fueled by a solid financial foundation that we've built. We don't have to cower or be held hostage by those that may threaten to pull their financial support if we criticize or push for change. Our business model has evolved to further fuel benefits for our members without raising member costs. So all the things I've mentioned are reasons why we have such a high membership number of 4,367 and growing, okay? We are proud of that, and we are so excited that all of us continue this mutually beneficial journey. Thank you.
Black News and Views is NABJ's own global news organization, and it is now 2 years old. Since the last convention, we've gained 50,000 new site visitors, won an investigative journalism grant, and launched a weekly email newsletter. The MSN Network and Heytai app and Black news aggregators are sharing our work.
You need an organization to come in and fill in those gaps to make sure you're informed, particularly in the Black community, a community that is traditionally underserved.
We beat major outlets with our interviews with the team of black women who ventured to Antarctica, and with word that Willie Mays Baseball Hall of Fame plaque would be displayed at a landmark game. We're covering the White House race from a black perspective. We reported from Southern Africa on chronically bad roads that caused a bus crash that killed 45. And from Liberia, where the government is reconciling wartime atrocities.
We actually are our own self-fulfilled news organization. We have reporters around the world. We seek to tell stories that have not been told before. And I think that's important to absorb, because there are a lot of black-owned news organizations that have been starting up in the last 2 or 3 years who are doing great work. We are not seeking to duplicate what they're doing or what CNN is doing or the New York Times. We're seeking to do something that you won't find anywhere else.
Before BNV's public launch in 2022 and the start of the pilot version the year before, the news outlet was a long-time conversation topic.
I remember when we were first really kind of developing the concept, trying to figure out what the name should be, what the site should look like. It was important to me that we showcase the work of our members and that we really highlight some unique stories that only we can tell, and we can tell the best.
Our contributors are working journalists around the world, college students, seasoned alumni of the Today Show and the New York Times, as well as professors. They all share a love for good journalism.
My most memorable story is probably the Birmingham, Alabama baseball game day after the Juneteenth holiday. Why? Because it was a NABJ Black News and Views exclusive. 2 Major League Baseball teams wearing Negro League uniforms playing in the ballpark where Willie Mays and similar greats once played.
I contributed a couple of stories. One of them was about U.S. Virgin Islands Governor Albert Bryant. He came to Washington, D.C. in February for the National Governors Association winter meeting. Another one was about Morgan Price, who became the first HBCU gymnast to win a collegiate national championship.
We were able to go to Montgomery and talk with Aaron Rudolph Hamilton. The name doesn't ring a bell with you, but he's the Montgomery swimmer who swam to the aid of his coworker who was being attacked by a white mob at a dockside there. That made national headlines. We get a chance to sit down with him, to hear him tell his story, and realize this is a very shy 16-year-old kid who just did what he thought was right. Great moment, fun to do that.
What we're able to contribute through Black News and Views is also an act of defiance, something that really appeals to me, to be able to share untold, unknown, and forgotten aspects of our history, and to shed light on ongoing efforts to preserve it.
Wow, so many wonderful opportunities that BNV has provided us, including the opportunity to put together a special 3-part series on the 16th Street church bombing. We were able to explore and get unique perspective from the lone survivor of that bombing, Mrs. Sarah Collins Rudolph. This is just an example of one of the many opportunities that BNV has afforded to both me and my wife, including the opportunity to put together this very video you're watching right now.
For those of us who are retired, and for those of us who have chosen not to continue with a 9-to-5, Black News and Views lets us continue to do what we have done for much of our careers and hopefully tell good stories.
And we have more than 30 partners. Pretty impressive for 2 years.
How great would it be if Black News and Views was winning Murrows and Emmys and things like that? And we have the talent to do it. We just need the investment, we need the resources, and we need the support.
You can donate. We're part of a nonprofit. Donating is always great. We have been focused on producing great journalism, but we also have to consider how to make ourselves sustainable.
All right. We have partnered with the Joyce Foundation to bring you tonight's opening ceremony. The Joyce Foundation is a private, nonpartisan philanthropy based right here in Chicago. The foundation's mission is to advance racial equality and economic mobility for all young people in the Great Lakes region. It does that through grants for programs related to culture, democracy, education, economic mobility, environment, gun violence prevention, and justice reform, and journalism. With us tonight is the Joyce Foundation Chief External Affairs Officer, Casey Itayero. Casey oversees the Foundation's strategic communications, the journalism program, and the Lend a Hand Community Grant Fund. She is also an award-winning journalist. I love this part. An award-winning journalist who has worked for the Chicago Tribune, the Raleigh News and Observer, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and the Washington Post. Please welcome the Joyce Foundation's Casey Itayero.
Hey, NABJ. Welcome to Chicago. Man, y'all came in hot. And we love it. We're so glad that you are here. And I am just so glad to be here to welcome you to our great city. It's been a while since I've been in a newsroom, but NABJ will always be home. At the Joyce Foundation, as you heard, I oversee our journalism funding and our strategic communications. Our team is pretty stacked with journalists. We have 3 former journalists on our team, including another dedicated NABJ member. And that was one of the reasons why the Joyce Foundation was so proud to support the 2024 NABJ Convention and Career Fair. Because of our commitment to organizations like NABJ, that are helping to train the next generation of journalists at such a critical time in our nation's history. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Joyce Foundation, Ken gave you a little bit about what we do. We are Chicago-based. We're a private, nonpartisan foundation. We support primarily public policy to advance racial equity and economic mobility for the next generation in the Great Lakes region. Among our program areas are journalism and democracy, 2 issues that intersect so acutely here today. The last time NABJ was in Chicago, it was as part of the Unity Convention in 2008. Some of you may have been here at the time, remember that. Oh yeah, you can clap, it was a good time. It was a good time. And as you'll recall, there was a little consequential election going on at the time. Today, in 2024, on the heels of the Democratic National Convention that will also be held here in Chicago, another consequential election looms. Now, as a nonpartisan foundation, we cannot engage in electoral politics, so here's my disclaimer. Y'all my witnesses, I gave a disclaimer. What I'm about to say is not political, it's existential. We are in precarious times. Our democracy's fragility is ever clear. Black people have long been on the front lines in the fight to perfect our union, and now we're being called on to protect it. And you as Black journalists are being called on to ensure that the record reflects who stood where and for what when the counting is done. The work that some of you will do in the coming months will be some of the most important of your careers, the most important of our lifetimes. It's a responsibility that can be really heavy at times, I'm sure. I hope you find fortitude and fellowship in this community, that the next few days recharge you for the road ahead. I also hope that you do what NABJ does best and have a damn good time while you're here. Right, yeah, come on. You know how we do. Thank you for your time, for coming to our great city, and for the important work you do on behalf of all of us. Appreciate y'all.
Please welcome your NABJ Convention Program co-chairs, Washington correspondent for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, co-host of the AJC's Politically Georgia radio show and podcast, and chairwoman of the NABJ Political Task Force, Tia Mitchell, and the politics and investigation editor for the Kansas City Star, former NABJ National Treasurer, former NABJ Region 8 Director, former NABJ Elections Committee co-chair, and former president of the Kansas City Association of Black Journalists, Glenn E. Rice.
Hello, NABJ, and welcome to Chicago. My name is Glenn E. Rice, and I'm your convention programming co-chair, along with my partner in crime.
That would be me, Tia Mitchell. Now, this is my first taste of summertime shy, and I am just so happy to be here. How about you?
Well, Tia, we hit the trifecta. This is our third time serving as programming chairs, and I must say we've been working very hard. We truly hope that the sessions and workshops this week help educate, motivate all of you in what has been said before, a very consequential year for our industry, our craft, and our nation.
That's right, Glenn. And we couldn't have done it without those of you in the audience who submitted proposals and then worked so hard to execute your panels.
So we thank the board, the hardworking staff, the slew of volunteers who've been behind the scenes on logistics and planning. Much love to our program committee members for helping us evaluating and scoring the submissions. They include A. Sharon Blakely, Gary Eshwick, Sharon Flanagan, Louis Duguid, Sharice Gibson, Rachel Habershaw, and Corey Antonio Rose.
You all stand if you're here. Be recognized. Thank you so much for your work. I see you, Raisa. Okay. Please don't take this packed NABJ convention agenda for granted. Yes, we know there is a lot to do in these Chicago streets, including Megan Thee Stallion and other major artists performing just across the way. But the real hot girls will be in the panels, the training institutes, and the career fair. Am I right? I should say hot boys and hot girls, right?
Well, it is our prayer that you leave Chicago better and more prepared than when you were when you arrived. And we count it as a blessing to be part of this team that has made this week possible.
Please let us know, and we mean this, let us know if there's anything we can do to make this year's convention better for you. We really want you to have a great NABJ 24. So, moving on. It takes a lot of planning to operate a successful conference and career fair, as you know. That work starts years in advance with the selection of the host cities and constant collaboration with the host chapters.
We'd like to recognize the members of NABJ Chicago. If you're here, please stand. Whose dedication made this event possible. Thank you so much.
Leading the local chapter is Emmy Award-winning journalist and journalism educator, NABJ Chicago President Brandon Pope.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Yes, indeed. Let me just say, NABJ family, on behalf of the Chicago chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists, it brings me immense joy to welcome you to Chicago, Illinois, now officially the host of the highest attended NABJ convention in organization history. Incredible. You know, when cameras touch down into Chicago from outside the city, they often only scratch the surface of who we really are. We are the home of journalism trailblazers like Ethel Payne, Ida B. Wells, and NABJ founder Vernon Jarrett. We're the cornerstone of the black press, where the Chicago Defender, Chicago Crusader, Ebony Magazine, and Jet Magazine shined a light onto the black experience in America through the civil rights era and beyond. We're the birthplace of house music and gospel and a rising mecca of the Midwest for film and television production. Art, culture, great food, music help lift our souls above our sorrows, and that pain breeds purpose. And it's in these hardships that the heart and hustle of Chicagoans shine through. And it's part of what makes this city unlike any other. It's a place I fell in love with as a student at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. I know Ball State's in the house, give it up. That's right, chirp, 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 Funcy. Our student chapter, under the brilliant leadership and guidance of Dr. Maria Williams Hawkins, took a field trip to the city's newsrooms, and upon seeing the breathtaking skyline and view from Lakeshore Drive, seeing Chicago Tribune's old building with the First Amendment etched in stone, I was hooked. I would later have many journalism assignments here in this city as a TV reporter in nearby South Bend, Indiana, and I could feel Chicago's pulse and the passion of its people syncing with my very own. And now I am proud to call it home, and I'm proud to share it with every single one of you. Founded by John Baptiste Point du Sable, a black man from Haiti, nearly every street corner is steeped in black history. So I encourage you to explore it all during the Chicago chapter's Black History bus tours if you can. Our chapter has worked incredibly hard to bring you an NABJ convention to remember, one like none other. I thank all of our members, our volunteers, our board for all of their hard work, and the support of our sponsors, NBC, the Chicago Bears, CBS Chicago, the Chicago Tribune, and many more. We are here to be your guides to the city, so please do not hesitate to ask us for good food recommendations, places to dance, to have fun, grab a good drink. We like to give our opinions for sure. Now, you know, one of our most famous monikers is the Second City, but soon you're gonna find that we are a city second to none. Thank you. And now I want to bring up NABJ President Ken Lemon.
All right. He got his start as a public school teacher in Cabrini Green. In the classroom, he witnessed firsthand how gun violence, unemployment, and budget constraints impact students, and he moved on to become an organizer with the Chicago Teachers Union. There he pushed to expand access to state funding, reduce high-stakes standardized testing, and protect neighborhood schools from privatization. In 2018, he was elected to the Cook County Board of Commissioners. In 2023, he was sworn in as the leader of the third largest city in the United States. Please welcome the 57th mayor of the city of Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ken, for that introduction. I'm really grateful and proud to welcome the National Association of Black Journalists to the greatest freaking city in the entire world, the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago is so great, we even attract former presidents. That's how much people like to be in Chicago. I do want to thank Ken for his leadership, to the NABJ Executive Director, Drew Barry, and to all of this year's convention chairs and co-chairs. And more importantly, I want to thank the members of this incredible institution. You truly imbibe the hope and aspirations of our ancestors. We are honored to have the NABJ here for this year's convention. Chicago has a rich history of black journalism. We have a rich history of storytelling that has helped pave the way for a bright future for all of our people. The black stories, the hopes and dreams and aspirations of our people. You carry that long history of trailblazing and black journalism is expressed through ancestors like Ida B. Wells. And thank you, Frank Marshall Davis and Max Robinson. And of course, the remarkable legacy of black publications like the Chicago Defender, WVON, Ebony, Jet, all of their outlets that ultimately were designed to uplift black voices and bring fresh perspectives to our city and well beyond. At a time when the news media is filled with disinformation and division and turmoil, it often lacks the black perspective and voices and stories that bring truth. It is more important than ever before to lift up those black voices to ensure that our stories and truths are heard. The incredible representation that is in this room, other media outlets don't have the benefit just yet of our expertise. And that's why it's vital and important to empower our communities through our own stories. And with that, I have a quick story. My oldest son, Owen, he's 16 years old. And a couple of years ago, when I was contemplating running for mayor of the city of Chicago, he was 14 years old, he was about to enter high school. And I went to him and I said, son, I'm thinking about making this move here. And you know what my son said to me? He said, Dad, before you announce, before you decide that you wish to do this, I need a favor from you. Now, when a 14-year-old black boy asks for a favor, I would just say my expectations were quite low. He said, before you announce, I want to start the school year off as a brand new freshman, as a brand new student, as a freshman at a new high school, and I want to be able to make the soccer team before you announce because I need to know who is real in my life. He wanted to make sure that there was truth around him. Each and every one of you in this room have pursued a unique purpose, a purpose to tell the truth. All of you have aspirations and goals to not just make your family proud, but to lift up our race. And so you reflect the hopes and aspirations of our people. When journalists actually reflect the communities and experiences in which we come from, it provides the perspective of our daily lives. I don't know how the world can properly function without our truth. And that's why organizations like the NABJ are so important. Now, before I close here, I want to address something quickly. Earlier today, there was an elephant in this room. And unfortunately, that elephant is not just a symbol, but a representation of a very dark history in our country. Once upon a time, this country used to find its entertainment with what they called freak shows, with individuals with unique characteristics or disabilities were used as entertainment. And out of that, circuses were formed. I want to be very clear about who Donald Trump is. He is someone who can sit comfortably in our pain. And the reason why he can sit comfortably in our pain is because he sits in the principality of lies. It's his being. It's his character. But that is not our torment. That is his. But what is special about this moment, God bless Rachel Scott. My wife texted me and she said, put Rachel Scott in our will. Which means she just inherited some water bills. That's a local joke. But he ran into blackness and he felt it. He felt the heat, the unconditional love, the masterpiece of the black woman that only an amazing God can take an Indian and a Jamaican and create somebody in his image, a black woman. Keep in mind that this is not only an individual who lies, but he does it repeatedly. In fact, Donald Trump wants us to believe that our battle is between low-wage workers and individuals with no wages. He wants us to believe that somehow our hopes and aspirations cannot be fulfilled. In fact, he is so bad at what he does, he was sued by the Justice Department because he was refusing to house black people. But then came along a black woman by the name of Kamala Harris, who took on banks and corporations during the housing crisis and settled billions of dollars to ensure that homeowners get to experience the true, full expression of the American dream. This is someone, Kamala Harris, who for the first time in the history of America has been charged with gun violence reduction through the office of the White House, versus someone who believes that our pain and our suffering and violence should have immunity, particularly when it's done against black people. I'm talking about the difference between a black woman and someone who sits in the office of lies. Be very clear that this room is filled with the hopes and aspirations and dreams of those who can only wish for this day. You have a special responsibility and an obligation to tell the story of those who couldn't tell it. Well, what I'm convinced of in this moment, that as the city of Chicago and the rest of the world looks for moral clarity, it is possible that darkness and hope lives in the same political realm, but it is the hope and aspirations of black journalists that get to tell the story of a young black girl who wishes and dreams to be an artist one day. You get to tell the hopes and the aspirations of a black boy who wished to run his own business one day. The power that you all have, you literally have the power to write our liberation into existence. You have that power. The power to make sure that racism is not the prevailing form of governance, but that hope and aspiration becomes the reality of people across America. And so whether it's telling the stories of lynching, telling the story of our degradation, but making sure that the stories that the mainstream media did not deem as important, you get to tell the world just how important public education is to black people in the rest of the world. You get to tell the story that only through the lens of black liberation, where you can call out terrorist attacks, but you can also call an end to bombing of people in Palestine to ensure that ceasefire as well as hostages can be released. That is the power of this room. And so in closing, I want you to spend as much money as you possibly can in the city of Chicago. Because I got to make sure that every single child in this city has access to a fully funded neighborhood school, just like the vice president is making sure. I got to make sure that we can afford to live in communities where investments are happening. I got to make sure that transportation moves and works, just like we have to do in this country. God bless you all as black journalists. God bless the NABJ, and God bless the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. Thank you all.
Are we ready to continue? Thank you. Each year, NABJ presents a teacher, professor, or educator with the Journalism Educator of the Year award. The award recognizes the service, commitment, and academic guidance of an educator at a high school or an accredited four-year college or university. Nominees must teach or advise students within the field of journalism. This year's recipient has taught reporting and producing classes at the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University, go Wildcats, since 1993. In addition to teaching, she's held several administrative posts, including Associate Dean, Director of the McCormick Tribune Fellows Program, and Co-Director of the South Africa Journalism Residency Program. In her 35-year membership of NABJ, she has missed only 2 conventions. With NABJ, she served as the 2017 Program Chair. She has served as the Ida B. Wells Award co-curator and led the Living History Project, which highlighted NABJ's founders. While working as the education reporter at WFLA, she was one of the co-founders of the NABJ chapter in Tampa. The Chicago native has worked as a freelance correspondent for Chicago Tonight and WGN-TV, and as a full-time reporter at WCCO and WEHT-TV. NABJ is pleased to present the 2024 Journalism Educator of the Year Award to Dr. Ava Thompson Greenwell. NABJ's student chapters play a crucial role in the organization's mission. Each year, we honor a campus chapter that excels in recruiting new members to its chapter and NABJ. The goal is to create unique and engaging campus and community activities and programs to prepare its members to enter the job force. Following last year's convention in Birmingham, this year's Student Chapter of the Year developed programming that focused on professional development and career opportunities. It hosted campus events that included recruiters and journalists who discussed the future of journalism and how students can best prepare for their career entry. NABJ is pleased to announce the 2024 Student Chapter of the Year I'm sorry, I just had to do that. Okay. Is the Ball State chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. Finally, tonight, we present the Professional Chapter of the Year Award. For this award, the NABJ Judging Committee examines the chapter's involvement in the community and the programming it provides to its members. Chapters are also judged by the number and size of the scholarships the chapter awards each year. Over the past year, the winner has hosted monthly sessions to help members with professional and personal development. The chapter has also recognized the need to grow and foster new talent. Through its high school journalism program, students who normally would not have access to journalists get hands-on experience learning from industry professionals how to craft, tell, and share stories. Please join me in congratulating our 2024 NABJ Professional Chapter of the, I'm dragging it out, year, the New York Association of Black Journalists. We certainly hope you have enjoyed tonight's opening ceremony.
I can tell you, I don't think I've ever been to an opening day of NABJ quite like this.
It's Chicago.
Thank you so much for coming out. Remember, this is day one. We still have a whole lot more to do, a whole lot of learning, a whole lot of experiencing, a whole lot of growing, and I expect to see a lot of your faces around. Thank you again for being with us tonight.
And don't forget, we invite you to come to the Grand Ballroom for the opening reception,
Yes.
powered by J.P. Morgan Chase. And we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, no matter how late you stay out tonight. Come back for the learning sessions and the career fair. And with that, Mr. President.
Y'all, thank you again. Out the double doors and to the other side. I will see you there.
Welcome to Chicago.